Memento is an archetype which has really struggled to get its foot off the ground, but today we have had 2 more cards announced for the archetype, and in today's video what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these new cards, give a brief overview of the archetype, and I'm going to show you 2 1-card combos that you can do with the new support. So we'll start with the Fusion spell. So this is Nevercorpse Fusion Memento Fusion. It is a quick play spell, and it says that during the main phase you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck by using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Memento monster. If a monster in your possession was destroyed by card effect this turn, you could also use Memento monsters in your graveyard as material by shuffling them into the deck. The second effect is during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy 1 monster you control, and if you do, add 1 Memento spell trap from your deck to your hand, and you can only use each effect of the fusion once per turn. So this is a pretty strong card. Obviously, it's going to allow us to go into the fusion monster, which we'll talk about in a second, but being able to shuffle monsters from the graveyard into the deck makes this very free to use in most game scenarios, and yeah, the search effect for a Memento spell is also really good because searching the spells is actually quite difficult to do outside of searching with Mace. So this allows you to get the field spell, which is really good. It also allows you to get the Bone Party and Boneback, as well as the powerful trap cards. So a really strong card. We'll talk about the fusion now. So it requires 2 Memento monsters to summon. If this card is fusion summoned, you can destroy 1 Memento monster in your hand or face-up field, and if you do, add up to 2 Memento monsters with different names from each other from your deck to your hands. Monsters destroyed by battle with your Memento monsters are banished, and if this fusion summoned card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 level 6 or lower Memento monster from your graveyard, and you can only use each effect of Twin Dragon once per turn. So this is really good. You can destroy himself to add up to 2 Memento monsters, and then he'll use his other effect to float into a level 6 or lower in your graveyard, which is actually quite impressive. Before we get into the combos, I am just going to give a brief overview of the rest of the archetype, because I imagine there's a lot of people who don't know what these cards do. So we'll start with the monsters. So we're playing 3 Memento Dark Blade. This is essentially Lone Fire Blossom for the entire archetype, as long as it's level 3 or lower, and it is a 1-card starter, since our Anguish is a 1-card starter, as we will see in the combos. It also has the effect that when it is normal or special, you can discard a Memento card to target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it, so an extra utility effect that you can use with the Dark Blade. Anguish is probably the most important card in the deck. When it is normal or special summoned, you can add a Memento monster from your deck to your hand, except for another copy of itself, and you can target a level 2 or lower Memento monster in your graveyard, destroy Memento you control, and special summon that card. I said that this is probably the most important card, but that's actually a lie, because Tatsu no Chigo is actually probably the most important card. This is a level 5 beast, and if you do not control any face-up monsters other than Memento monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So you can do this if you control no monsters, or if you control Mementos, or if you only control face-down monsters. Go away, Discord. And during your main phase, you can destroy 1 Memento monster you control and send any number of Memento monsters with different names from your deck to the graveyard whose total levels are less than or equal to the destroyed monster's original level. So traditionally you pop this, and you get to send 3 monsters whose add up to 5, is essentially what we are going to do. The next card is Astic Ghost. This is one of the newer ones. I don't think we actually have this in the TCG yet. And this says, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target a Memento monster in your graveyard, except for another copy of itself, and add it to your hands. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a Memento's monster effect, you can special summon this card. So another strong effect. You send this off of the Zebra, is what I'm going to call this guy, and then you get to summon it back and then add another one, which is quite strong. Memento Combined Creation is the boss monster of the archetype. It cannot be normal summoned or set, and it has to be special summoned from either your hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Mementos with different names from your hand and or graveyard into the deck or extra deck. And while you control no other monsters, this card can attack each of your opponent's monsters once each. And once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special a Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. Doesn't seem all that great for a boss monster, but because you need to pair this with the Cranium Burst, which we'll get to in a moment. 1 Goblin, this, if you control the big guy, you get to discard this and your Mementos can't be targeted by card effects. And his effect on field is during the main phase, you can destroy a Memento, and then you can send up to 2 Memento cards with different names from each other from deck to graveyards. This Forge Barrels 2, which is really strong. Mace is probably the best interruption you have in the deck. So during your opponent's main phase, if you control the Combined Creation, you can discard this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and take control of it until the end phase, so it's Snatch Steal in a hand trap, which is really, really strong. and its effect on field is during the main phase, you can destroy a Memento monster you control, and if you do, add a Memento card from your deck to your hand, except for another copy of itself. I'm only playing 2 here. You could probably play 3 since it does search the entire archetype, but since it does take your normal summon traditionally to actually start with this card, it means you can't normal summon the Yang afterwards, which is your best starter, and the Darkblade. But technically you could go effective this, add the Zebra, summon the Zebra, and do some plays, but I don't think it's a 1-card starter, which is why I'm only playing 2. Horned Dragon is a one-of. If you have 3 or more Mementos in your graveyards with different names, you can special summon it, and if this card on the field is destroyed, you can target 3 cards on the field, including a Memento card, and destroy them. So this is an extra piece of removal. If you manage to have it on your board, you pop it with like one of the effects, and you get to destroy 2 cards your opponent controls and a Memento you control. Really good. For non-engine, we're playing 3 Ash, 3 Droll, and we're playing 3 Super Poly down here, as well as 3 Prosp. We're playing 3 of the field spell. If you have Memento monster battles, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap effects until the end of the damage step, and if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one of those monsters and special Memento with a lower level from your hand or graveyard. And the third effect is during your end phase, you can set 1 Memento spell trap in your graveyard, which is quite strong. We're playing 1 copy of Boneback. This card's good, but it's really circumstantial on when you can actually use it. So if a face-up Memento monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one of the Combined Creation from your deck, which is the big guy, and ignoring its summoning conditions. And if your opponent moves a Memento monster out of your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card and special summon as many Memento monsters as possible with different names from your hand and or deck. So this soul charges from the deck if your opponent DD Crows you or Bystials you. But this card is in the graveyard, so they're going to read this and just not do that. So it's a good way of not getting yourself Bystialed if it's in the graveyard, but I don't feel like the effect would ever come up unless you're playing somebody who just simply isn't reading your cards. But I think the first effect is good enough to play a single copy of it since it is searchable. We're playing 3 copies of Bone Party, so this allows you to destroy a Memento in your hand or face-up field, and you can search for another Memento monster with a different name and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. So really good card. And during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target Memento monster you control. If it attacks a defense position monster this turn, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponents. So that's a good effect to put onto, where is he? The Combined Creation, since it is 5k and can attack all your opponent's monsters once each. You just ram in for a lot of damage if they decide to put some monsters in defense position, which is quite cool. 1 Rotor for the Darkblade, since it is a 1-card starter. 1 Cranium Burst. While you control a Memento monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack the Memento monster you control with the highest attack, their choice if tied. And when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can target one of your Combined Creation. It loses exactly 1000 attack and defense, and if it does, negate the activated effect, and you only use this effect once per chain. So if you have Cranium Burst and the Combined Creation on the board, this is essentially 5 monster negates, with it being once per chain, which is pretty good. I mean, it's basically Appaloosa in a trap card if you can get to the Combined Creation, and the whole deck's ethos is to get to the Combined Creation. It's interesting. I don't know if it's good enough to ever make this a playable deck, but it's an interesting card nonetheless. The next card is Fracture Dance. If you control a Memento monster, you can target 1 card in the field and destroy it, and if you control Combined Creation, you can destroy 1 more card on the field. So if you have this and you have Combined Creation, you just get to pop 2 for free, which is really good. When an attack is declared involving your Memento monster and an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and all monsters your opponent controls lose 1000 attack until the end of the turn. It's a fine effect to have on a card, especially if you've already used it. It's just an extra little piece of utility. And as I said, we're playing 3 Super Poly. In the extra deck, we are playing 3 of the Fusion monster, because filling out this extra deck was really difficult. 1 Typhon, why not? 1 Link Rebo, we're playing some 1s, 1 SP, why not? 1 Dark, everything's dark. Phoenix, Unicorn, Selene, Access Code Talker. I was really just trying to fill out this extra deck, and really you're not really be going into it a lot, so you can play whatever utility cards you want to. And then we're playing some Super Poly targets and Starving Venom, Garura, Mud Dragon, and Predaplant, Dragostapelia. Okay, let's get into the combos. We're playing. We're going to show you 2 combos. The first one, we'll start with this one first. We're going to start with the Anguish combo, which is going to go with normal summon Anguish and activate the effect to search for a Zebra. We are then going to use the Zebra's effect to special summon itself, and then the Zebra effect on the field to pop itself, sending a Mace, a Goblin, and an Astic Ghost. This is going to trigger our Astic Ghost to special summon itself and add this Goblin back to our hand. From here we can use the Anguish effect to special summon back this Mace, and then use the Mace effect popping itself to search for the Fusion spell. We're going to use the fusion spell here, but instead of using graveyard, we're going to use the cards on our field and hand so we can keep the monsters in our graveyard for the creation. This is going to summon the fusion monster, and we're going to use the fusion, popping itself to add a horned dragon and another copy of Mace. From here, we can use the fusion monster effect to special summon back this copy of Goblin, and then use the Goblin to sack itself to send the Cranium Burst and the creation to the graveyard. From here, we can special summon our dragon, and then use the fusion spell in graveyard, popping the horned dragon to search for a copy of the field spell. From here, we can activate the field spell, and then summon out our Grand Creation, shuffling back the Goblin, the Fusion, the Attic Ghost, and the Mace, and the Zebra in our graveyard. And then we can go to the end phase, use the effect of the field spell, and set the Cranium Burst. So in our opponent's turn, when they activate an effect, we can summon back this Anguish, and then we can use the Anguish's effect to search for the Goblin. So this is the end board, and what we have here is 5 monster negates from the Cranium Burst, by taking the attack and defense down of our combined creation, as well as a Snatch Steal in the Mace, and targeting protection with the Goblin by discarding it, which is quite strong. Also, if one of our mementos is destroyed, we can use the field spell to special summon back this dragon from our graveyard. Well, if the combined creation is destroyed, we can special summon back the Horned Dragon. We won't be able to special summon off the Anguish since it has to summon a monster with a level or lower. Technically, you could summon the Goblin or Mace, but I don't think you really want to be doing that. The next combo is essentially exactly the same, but we're going to be starting with the Zebra rather than the Anguish. So we're going to special summon the Zebra and use its effect to destroy the Anguish, the Mace, and the Attic Ghost in our deck, or send them to graveyard, not destroy them, sorry. And then we can use the Attic Ghost to special summon itself, and then the Attic Ghost on the field to add back this Anguish. From here, we can normal summon the Anguish and use the effect to search for a Goblin, and then we can use the Anguish to pop the Attic Ghost to special summon the Mace, and then the Mace to pop itself to search for the Fusion spell. From here, it's essentially the exact same combo, using the Fusion spell with the Goblin and the Witch to go for the Fusion, and then the Fusion to pop itself to add the Dragon, as well as the Mace. From here, we can use the Fusion's effect to special summon back this Goblin, and then use the Goblin effect to to send the Grand Creation and the Cranium from deck to graveyard. Then we can special summon the Dragon, use the Fusion spell to pop the Dragon, and add a copy of the field spell. From here, we have the exact same end board after activating the field spell, special summoning back the Dragon, and using the field spell to reset the trap once Dueling Book decides it wants to shuffle these cards back. Here we go. Field spell, special summon back. And then when our opponent special summons a monster, or activates a monster effect, sorry, we could special summon back this Anguish, and then use the Anguish effect to search for a Goblin. So the exact same board, 1-card combos. Very, very weak to hand traps is something I will have to say. There's no real way of playing through them unless you have like a critical mass of guys, but most of these guys don't really drop themselves. The only one that drop themselves is the Zebra and the Dragon. Otherwise, if your normal summon gets stopped, you're kind of in trouble. You could use the Bone Party to special summon a monster after you've been hand trapped, I guess. Like if you start with Dark Blade, attempt to destroy itself, it imperms it, and you activate Bone Party to destroy the Dark Blade and summon the Anguish anyway. That is a way of playing through hand traps, but really, if your opponent is smart with the way they play the hand traps, you're probably never going to be able to combo. But it is interesting that this deck now does have some 1-card combos, which actually end on a decent number of interruptions, thanks to the Fusion spell and the Fusion monster. So the first combo with Anguish can also be done with Dark Blade, obviously, since Dark Blade can summon Anguish, and we have the 1-card combo with the Zebra, which gives us 9 1-card starters, as well as having the Bone Party, which can search for them, and Pross, which allows us to fill out our deck. So you should consistently get to your combo, but whether you will be able to resolve the combo or not is a whole nother matter. But anyway, that's the video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing. We're going to have much more content like this coming out in the future. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.